my God. Wow.
Never going once? $1,400?
Paid $2,700 for that locker.
$1,000. $1,000.
It's one of the most popular shows on television, Storage Wars.
11 there. 11 there.
Now welcome to Storage Wars Fresno style.
It's always that thrill of what's behind the door.
This probably goes sky high.
Whether it's a thrill of the unknown, the rush of the hunt, or the discovery of lost treasure.
I've sold units for $1. I've sold units for $15,000.
Yeah, I have fun. I'm addicted.
One thing's for sure, storage hunting has a cult-like following.
I've found pinball machines, signed baseball, Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, and a few others. I can't remember a lot of stuff.
So it's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
It's kind of a gambling thing, you know? It's like going to the casino. Never know.
One thing Katie Akers does know, it's been profitable for her and her boyfriend. They are both private investigators. Katie says they are naturally curious, so she decided to put her intuition to work for her.
She's a 525. How about half and half? What's 5.5?
We've made money off everything. We keep quite a bit of stuff. We found a bunch of antiques in the last one, and so it's just fun.
Hey, get out of there.
The rules are simple. You can't step inside the unit, so arm yourself with a flashlight and look carefully.
Lots of kid stuff. Gonna have a lot of clothes. Lots of.
And if you do have cash, bid, and bid often.
Since all of these reality shows that come in, I would probably say that it's tripled in the amount of people that come in here.
No kidding.
And yes, I mean, what we used to buy for $100 to $200 on a bin now go from, $400 to $500 to $600, $800. Because everybody wants that pot of gold.
So what are the secrets to find that pot of gold? Frank and others say dust and cobwebs are your friend, because that means the item hasn't been touched in a while. Look for neatly taped and stacked boxes. They may contain fragile but expensive items. As for this unit, it caught Katie's eye.
I figure if the guy goes camping, he might go fishing. If he goes fishing, he might go hunting. There might be guns.
So did her reasoning pay off?
Now, there is $1 million in here. It's heavy.
I will give you $20. This is what first caught my eye. My son's a drummer.
So what's the wow factor for Katie and her storage unit? Well, besides having a bunch of camping gear like sleeping bags and tents, she also has an amplifier for her guitar. But these are the big money items. These drums with the stands, which she has, $350 each they retail. So she made out.
It's worth it. All smiles today. I was lucky 13. Doubled my money easily.
See, I should have bought that. I told you my name was Joe Remorse.
Meanwhile, down the hall,
That's butterscotch sold at Costco.
Harold and Joe thought that they had a gold mine in these horses. It turns out
Remember those things from the fair? These are like from the old where you sit and do the little race at the fair, and this is what they give you as the prize. If you're going to make any money, you better be enterprising. It's not about finding the '59 Ford. It's about what can I do with what I got stuck with.
2 1/4, 2.5, 275.
Jason Porras, what he got stuck with was his own unit. Times got tough, and he didn't have the money to pay the late fees, so he decided to win it back at the auction.
Twice, all in, all done. Yes, no, we got to go. Sold it, 8 1/4.
Well, I owed him probably a little bit more than that, so I came out ahead. So, yeah, there's some personal things in there from my wedding, our kids. Definitely some personal mementos there. It's worth the price.
A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but these pictures are worth $50,000. That's the amount my mother-in-law was forced to pay in bribes to keep her husband alive. Glenn and Linda Miller's Mexican vacation with friends was in full swing. Beach, fun, and sun. Tragedy struck.
I had been downstairs playing cards with some friends, and when I came up, I was calling to him. I came back through. I saw him laying on the floor.
She said, "Jeff, there's been an accident, and it's serious, and I don't know if your dad's going to make it."
As I got closer, there was a pool of what I later found out was cerebral fluid that had, when he cracked his skull, had come through his nose.
Glenn tripped in his room, landing face first through a glass table and onto the ceramic tile floor. Linda, who's a registered nurse, knew it was a bad fall.
At one point, I could tell they were beginning to lose him, and they asked me to leave the room.
Her husband needed emergency brain surgery.
They took him in, and then within about an hour of him being in surgery, people began to stand in front of me, like about a foot away. And they would have pieces of paper in their hands.
Hospital administrators told her their insurance wasn't any good in Mexico, even though she had proof.
And you had showed him a piece of paper from
Yeah.
your insurance company
Yes.
saying that It's taken care of.
Yes.
Leave her alone.
Yes. I was getting the feeling that they were not going to release him to go home until this huge bill was paid for.
Glenn survived the surgery, but hospital staff continued to hammer her for more money.
And they took me into a room, and a very smooth-talking gentleman kept saying to me, but we need to have 25,000. We need to have 30,000. We need to have 40,000. And I had maxed out my cards by this amount, and I said, I don't have any more. And he said, you're going to need to go and call your credit cards. They do this all the time.
She and her friends gave all they had, tens of thousands of dollars in cash and credit card charges. The hospital finally released him. Linda knew time was of the essence to get Glenn back on U.S. soil. So after doctors cleared him one day after emergency brain surgery, he was airlifted from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico to Eden Medical Center here in Castro Valley.
It didn't look good at all. The first couple of nights, they didn't give us much hope.
Joe and Teresa are here to see you.
Glenn finally took a turn for the better. He not only survived, he thrived.
So glad to see you.
Within 5 weeks, he was in rehab. Within 5 months, he was back to work as a certified public accountant.
My accident was October the 6th. I came home just a day or two before Thanksgiving, and tax season started in late January. I did a full season of tax returns.
The Millers are grateful to the doctors in Mexico, but were disgusted with the extortion.
It's fairly common in Mexico.
Mark Jones owns an air ambulance service. He says his company always works with a handler on the ground, a native who knows who to pay and works out the costs.
Mexico, you have to be very cautious. You know, they kind of know that they've got you, and if you don't take care of these things, they'll impound your plane.
So what can you do to protect you and your family when you travel outside the country? First of all, educate yourself. The U.S. State Department's website has a smart traveler enrollment program. Use it. It's a free service that allows you to enter information about your upcoming international trip. You'll then receive alerts about the latest travel warnings, areas you should stay out of, and details where to find the nearest U.S. consulates.
You know, it's very sad to see that some people still are getting into or that sort of acts of corruption.
Reina Torres Mendeville is the head consul of the Consulate of Mexico in Fresno. She advises to keep the name, address, and phone numbers of the nearest hospital with you at all times. Find out if it's a private or public hospital. If it's private.
And of course they charge what they need to charge.
But tens of thousands of dollars, even when my in-laws had insurance, they're not buying that.
Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down.
My in-laws understand money will come and go. With the help of their strong faith, they've learned valuable lessons.
Well, I would take away from this that you have no assurances of tomorrow.
God's the great healer, the great physician, and He certainly proved that to us over and over, and I'm very thankful for that.
It was around 12 o'clock when the Sanger woman heard her doorbell ring. This wasn't the first time that it rang. Earlier in the morning, it rang 2 other times. She checked it, but nobody was there. Myra says she looked out and saw that it was a man dressed as a Dish Network consultant. She ended up opening up the door, and that's when he threw a punch at her.
After he said, how are you doing? And I said, fine. He just tried to punch me in the face, and he gazed me he pretty much hit me a little here on my nose, but I reacted well to the hit because I moved back.
Ironically, Myra Villanueva had in her coat pocket pepper spray, a recent Christmas gift from a relative who's a sheriff's deputy. She sprayed the attacker and then gave the guy a couple of moves she learned from her mixed martial arts class. It's important to note that law enforcement tell you don't put yourself in any more danger, but because of Myra's mixed martial arts training, it just kind of kicked in, right? Sure did. What did you do after you pepper sprayed? Oh. It was then that Myra locked the door and the guy just ran away.
Unfortunately, I was able to scare the guy away. The Sanger PD said, well, it looks like you did a good job, and kicked his butt.
Myra is thankful to her trainer, and she plans to continue her mixed martial arts classes. But the Villanueva family does plan to buy a gun for protection.
We're going to have to do that. It's getting so bad. They're just even knocking the doors down or just breaking in however they can.
Thank God I reacted the way I did, because I mean, if I had a gun, I probably would have used it.
In Sanger, Erik Rosales, KMPH News. Erik Rosales, Fox News.